Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show. Live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. You got a belly up to the bar. We've kept your seat. It's great to see you back. Kelly is going to be your bartendress tonight. She pours with the best of them, and the lava lamp is in fact lighted right back here to my left, your right. And what that means is that you can listen to the show and chat at shrmedia.com. You can also watch the show live as we simulcast in 3 platforms. Count them. 3. 1, 2, 3. And that would be, YouTube, the SHR Media YouTube channel, the SHR Media Facebook page, and also the SHR Media group on Periscope. Great places to go if you want to watch. Welcome already in chat. We have Dave Milner, Beantown Billy, and 1 viewer. I gotta tell you this, we don't water our drinks just like we don't water our conversation, politics, religion, crime, culture, economics, race, sex, science, law. We talk about it all. Here at the saloon, nothing is sacred. The speech is free, but the booze is not. All that we ask is that you flush the damn toilet, jiggle the handle, and don't forget to tip your waitress. Tonight happens to be September the 29th. My God, September is almost gone already. The year of our Lord 2018. Welcome to Mike. Mike just showed up. Welcome to Mike and 2 viewers. Great to see you here. Have I ever got a great show for you? The first hour is going to be with some folks that I should have had on probably a long time ago, and it's kind of shameful that I haven't. But I'm going to fix that tonight, and that would be Shannon and Mike Wright of The Right Way, basically Monday through Friday right here on the SHR Media Network. And if you don't listen to them early in the morning, shame on you. And the other thing is, I can tell you this. I can plan my next week of shows, because here's what's coming. Next Tuesday. Now, this past Tuesday, hey, Dave. Welcome to Dave in chat. Welcome to Whiskey Dale in chat. I can tell you that last Tuesday, if you recall, I had an SHR Media Special report, and that was about the hashtag walk away. Didn't have him, but now I do. Next Tuesday, I'm going to have the creator of that entire movement himself, Brandon Straka, on the show. He's going to try to stay on as long as he can. I've asked if he could stay on for 15 minutes, half hour. He's going to give me whatever he can, and have I got a lot of questions for him, because I believe that his is an extremely important movement. And then next Thursday, obviously, we're going to have Sackheads Against Tyranny on Wednesday night next week. Now, whether Sackheads Clint is here or not, I'm not quite certain, and I can't say. But that next Thursday night, a week from tonight, I'm going to have Melanie Teresa Colette on the show for one very pointed and important, to me, reason. She's not going to talk about money at all. I don't want to talk about money with her. I want to talk about everything but. If you don't follow her on social media, on Twitter, or on her Facebook page, does she ever get into some heated, basically cultural stuff with tons of people, and the stuff, it do fly. And she stands up with the best of them. So next Thursday, I'm going to try to see if we can engage in a little witty repartee back and forth, because I want her to discuss a lot of the things that she gets, a lot of the crap that she receives. Because she's, let's be honest, she's a black female that's conservative on the East Coast, and she doesn't mind that you know it. She's a God-fearing individual. God bless her for that. But she stands down for no man and no woman. And I really appreciate that in her. Now, that having been said, let's see if we can dial up. We're going to see if we can get... okay. Here's my phone, and we'll see if we can use it to call. There we go. And Pastor Shannon Wright knows that we're coming. Here we go.
Good evening.
Shannon Wright, can you hear me, Madame?
I can. And Michael is here, too.
Better yet.
What's up?
Better yet. I wasn't quite sure if that was going to occur, so I'm going to consider this a double treat, a double wow. So thank you for being on here tonight. Let's see. Let me adjust this. I have to say to you guys, and luckily I've got a lot of people in chat who are here just to listen to you guys for the entire first hour. And first, I have to say, tonight, it is my definite, distinct pleasure to introduce a great radio team that's been on the SHR Media Network longer than I have, and they host The Right Way with Shannon and Mike. And as I talked to Shannon last night, and I said, you know what, I've been negligent in not having you guys on the show before, and for that, I say I grandly apologize. I should have had you guys on much earlier, and I'm kind of trying to make up for this egregious error tonight. But
we accept your apology.
Well, thank you very much. You are most gracious. Now,
no, thank you very much. It's an honor to be on your show.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Before I go anywhere further, I have to state what I consider to be the obvious. And Mike, I can see, I get it when I say this. I got to step up and say, and I mean it with every fiber of my being, Shannon, you have the, repeat, the best female radio voice on the planet, okay? and I mean bar none, zip, zero, the null set, nobody. For those of you who just tuned in, nobody beats her voice. Nobody. I'm telling you, there are aliens on the planet Zephron right now that would build entire, I'm not kidding, they would build entire civilizations, Shannon, if you told them to.
Wow.
They would do that.
Wow.
Okay, all right.
That is a heck of a compliment.
It is. I don't know what to say.
I got that. I had to say it up front. I had to get it out of my system. So officially, though, I want to welcome Shannon and Michael Wright of The Right Way to the Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show tonight. First things first, let's get this out of the way because this is very important. There probably are a couple, but not very many people here that are listening that don't know who you are. So first things first, tell everybody where you guys can be found on social media and your show and on the internet.
Well, since Shannon has such a beautiful voice, we'll let her tell you.
Okay.
I have permission to speak. So we can be found on Facebook at Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. We can be found on SHR Media. Again, Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. And our website, which is liverightforyou.com.
Yeah, I think you covered it all.
I think so, too.
Okay. And again, for the people, and most of the people in here listen to SHR fairly religiously. That's why they're here. Tell us about your show. What is it about? What do you want your show to be, and what do you want it to be known for?
Wow.
In other words, what do you do? What do you talk about on your show?
We talk about anything and everything.
Yeah.
We do a lot of politics. We do some news. We do some lighthearted entertainment type stuff because we don't want to start people's day off with all the heavy stuff that's always going on in the news. So we try and mix it up.
Good.
So that people are informed and a little bit entertained and get their day off to a good start.
So we'll do things from top stories in the news to, recipes, different things that, people we feel would be interested in hearing. Not always, like Shannon said, not too heavy, because, you don't want to do that in the morning and bring people down. So we try to keep it lighthearted. Okay,
so what time is your show on?
We are on 7 to 9 a.m. East Coast time, Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah.
Okay. All righty.
So that's 4 o'clock for you.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes. Hey, let me stop right now. I haven't said it, and obviously I'm going to say it at the end of the show, but the other thing that needs to be said is, fortunately or unfortunately, a lot of people that I speak to and with whom I interview, etc., doggone it, it just seems like most people that I talk to are on the East Coast. So that having been said, I'm fully cognizant of the fact that it's 11:11 right now where you are. So kudos and thank you from the bottom of my heart for agreeing to be here so darned late at night. I have to tell this to everybody from the East Coast because it really is, as far as I'm concerned, it's a sacrifice. And I'll be honest again. If I'm going to be on somebody's radio show at 11 o'clock Pacific, I'm going to like those people, whoever they are, or I'm not going to be on their show. So truly, yes. I am very, very appreciative of your just having to agree to be on the show. Because I've told people I love to go live. I love the immediacy of a live radio show. Although people say that, okay, I can't stay up so doggone late. Can you pre-record me? Sure, I'll do that for people. So trust me when I tell you, I really appreciate what you're doing.
Not a problem.
And
not a problem. It's funny. When we have folks on our show, we pre-record everybody.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because we learned the hard way not to trust anybody to be on air on cue at 7 o'clock in the morning.
There have been many times.
Exactly.
When people have not, oh, yeah, I'll call you. And then you speak to them later and you're like, we were supposed to do an interview. Oh, I was sleeping.
Yeah. It's funny because we deal with some California folks.
Yeah.
So when we're on live at 7 a.m., they're like, no,
yeah,
I do this media. I can do this.
Yeah.
You realize it's 4 o'clock in the morning for you, right? And they're like, no, we're good. And there is a conservative actor out there where you are, in California, Joseph C. Phillips, who used to be on The Cosby Show.
Uh-huh.
He is a conservative Republican, and he lives in the L.A. area. And we were lucky enough that I reached him out of the blue and asked him if he would do an interview, and he did. He did a 2-part interview. But the time difference and the early hour messed him up.
Yeah. He was not ready for that.
It's kind of funny because I actually had to get rid of that first part of the interview because you could hear, he sounded like he needed to just yawn.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, yawning is a buzzkill because you and I both know you start yawning, everybody else starts yawning, and then there goes your show.
Absolutely.
It's down.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, so it's no secret that you guys are religious people. So tell everybody, if you would.
It's not a secret?
Oh,
I thought I was hiding it.
I know you were. I realize you were. Darn it, I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry. I apologize from the bottom of my heart for outing you guys on that. I'm so sorry. Well, okay, it was a secret. It was a secret. Now it's not a secret. So I'm curious.
No, it's not. Okay.
I thought, has it affected you?
Wow. Well, for me, it's been a conscious choice since I was a teenager. So that already made an interesting mix right there. So my mother had 2 sisters. My mother, one of my aunts is Jehovah's Witness. The other one is, no, Bunny's been Jehovah's Witness since I was a little girl.
Okay.
My Aunt Lee was Baptist, and my mother decided she was Episcopalian.
Okay. Wow.
My dad was Catholic.
Yeah.
So my mom just said, there's a little bit too much mixing up going on. So I'm just going to let you decide what it is you want to do. And I said, okay. I said, how about this? Non-denominational, full gospel Christian. Let's just put it there like that.
Yeah.
And as a teenager, I started going with some of my friends to church and found a church that I really liked. And none of my family ever went, and that was okay. But it was all good. It was my same place.
Yeah. For me, it's totally different. I mean, mine wasn't that complex. My family just were all Christians. That was what we did. It's kind of like, you're born into this family. This is what you do. Sunday, church. and that was it.
Okay.
So that's how it's always been for me.
All right. Hey, that's simple. A lot of people appreciate simple. I mean, Shannon, the only thing you were missing is you were missing somewhere in the mix. You were missing a Buddhist. That's about all you were missing.
Yeah, that's about it.
Hey, maybe there was a covert Buddhist in there, and they just didn't say anything.
Maybe. I think so. So, that phase is kind of how I ended up involved in politics, which has so not been part of my plan. When I looked around to say what I wanted to do when I grow up and what I want to be, this was not it.
Okay, all right.
Apparently God had a different plan, so, okay.
Well, boy, have I got a question for that a little bit later on before we wrap up. Shannon, you're a pastor. Is Mike as well?
Yes, I am. I'm actually a youth pastor.
Oh, beautiful.
I usually don't go around telling people that because I'm also a writer and I write fiction books and things like that. So that is like my first passion. But I also, yes, I'm a pastor and I deal with a lot of teens and, kids that are having problems. So that's where my specialty is.
Okay. I didn't know that you were an author, and I've always been interested in authors. I've interviewed 4 or 5 authors so far. And I enjoy reading a good book. Dare I ask you some of the books that you've written? Or can you say?
Oh, wow. And well, my first book that was published was called Morgan House. That was my very first book published. And I have several other books. The titles escape me right now.
Okay.
I can't think of them all.
Let me do it this way.
Yeah, well, not just the Ouija, but there's a couple of other ones. There's a book series that I have coming out. It's called A Pound of Flesh. That's a 12-book series.
Okay.
And I've got a lot of stuff going on.
He's a sci-fi buff, and they're all sci-fi.
Yeah.
So they're mostly all fiction. You don't really do nonfiction. Your books are fiction.
All fiction, yeah. I'm into entertainment.
That you didn't come up with. Oh no, that's Morgan House.
That's Morgan House.
Okay, that one is interesting. It has a interesting slant on the Christian perspective.
Yeah, there's some biblical references in there, and that book is something to read. And I haven't met a person yet, unless they've been lying to me, that the book is really good.
Okay, so let's see if maybe I can get you some sales here. Is your book Morgan House available for purchase?
It was.
It was.
We just pulled it down because we're doing a second edition, and Mr. Particular over here decided he needed new cover art and all of that sort of thing.
Okay,
so
yeah, I was kind of unhappy with a lot of the stuff that. Well, like the cover of the book and things like that. So we did pull it for reprint. So that should be out soon. Again.
Okay.
It will be. It'll be out in October.
It'll be available in October. Yeah.
Okay. When it comes out, I'd love to have you guys back on.
That would be awesome. We're actually both published authors.
Yes. Yeah.
On purpose, just to get people's attention. Want to know the name?
I do. You're only pastors. You've only written books. Come on, I want to hear about some kind of real achievements. Good gosh, you guys are busy. I can tell you that. Let's go back. Let's go back a little bit.
I don't know what we can come up with.
Man.
So, funny thing, we ended up in Baltimore and getting involved in politics completely by accident.
Yeah.
We were in New Jersey minding our business and actually a little involved in politics there too. And I started to do some blogging and all of that sort of thing. And then that nasty little Hurricane Sandy came around and decided we didn't need our house anymore or to be in New Jersey.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
So I had family here in Baltimore. So I moved down here and said, okay, God, this is a chance to reinvent ourselves. And Michael's thing has always been art and his books, but I needed to figure out what I wanted to do. So I decided to start a baking business.
Oh, yeah.
And I was the #1 minority gourmet supplier for 7-Eleven in the Baltimore, D.C. metro area.
Cool. Cool. You were a distributor.
Say that again? I'm sorry.
You were a distributor. You were one of the biggest distributors of goods to 7-Eleven.
We had just signed our first distribution deal, and then the riots happened in Baltimore.
Yeah.
And the funny thing is, when you do gourmet, you really don't use preservatives a lot of
fresh
times.
ingredients.
And it was the first time in history that 7-Eleven stores had closed.
Due to the riots.
Oh.
And we lost all of our inventory. And it was just bad. It was really, really bad.
It was.
So this is right off the heels of coming here after Sandy, and then reinventing yourself, and then it just seems like bad luck had just kept following us for a short period of time. So it was kind of rough. It was really rough.
Well, and I said, obviously I'm not hearing the message, so I'm gonna sit still. I'm gonna be quiet, and I'm gonna listen.
It's kind of like the ultimate 1-2 punch. And after the second punch, you're probably saying something similar to, okay, God, you have my attention now, completely.
Yes.
Yeah, there was a lot of that.
Yes. So right around that time, right after the riots, I was outside. I was in the garden. It was a Sunday afternoon, and my phone rang. And it was someone that I've known from conservative politics for a couple of years now. Recently passed away last year, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
A gentleman by the name of Corrigan Vaughn.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to me, so being that you're down here now and you see all this going on, I need you to run for city council president. And I started laughing, and I was like, okay, that's funny.
Wow.
So he said, I'm not joking.
Yeah.
I said, okay, but that's funny. So he said, I'm going to give you a couple of days to think about it, and I'll call you back. And he did. And he said, oh, hold on a second. And I'm thinking he had another call. He just put me on hold. He called the Baltimore City GOP chairman and did a 3-way call with us. I was like, well, thanks for giving me some time.
Yeah, Rob, nothing like putting you on the hot seat right now.
Yeah, he did. And Mike and I talked about it, and we decided to go for it. We knew it would be an uphill battle. We knew I didn't have a snowball's chance in hell of actually winning. But we knew that if I did it and I did it well enough, it would give other folks the idea to try it, and they might be the ones that could do it.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm. That makes perfect sense.
But you didn't tell them about the other stuff.
I did not get a lot of party support, and that kind of made me a little unhappy. So my mom always said, if you keep asking and they keep telling you no, don't ask, take it.
Yeah.
And then apologize later.
Right. That's the principle of, don't ask for anything except forgiveness. Just go out on your own and later ask for forgiveness.
Exactly. So when I realized I was not getting the support that I thought I should be getting, and that other folks that were running in Baltimore, because the odds are so horrible in Baltimore, I decided, okay, so I'm going to work this thing from the inside. And that year that I was on the ballot for city council president, I was also on the ballot and was a Trump delegate to the RNC. And,
really?
The ballot, yep, for Maryland State GOP. I'm actually now the third vice chair of the Maryland GOP.
Mm-hmm.
Wow,
so
okay.
I figured this way it would be really hard for them to ignore me or anyone else.
Yeah, no kidding if you're a delegate.
And then I took it a step further. So at this point, I'm the third vice chair for the state of Maryland. I'm the Maryland Black Republican Council chairwoman and first vice chair in Baltimore City.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are typical. You're just underachievers, just like I said. I mean, someday, really, honest to God, you're going to come out of your shell and really do something meaningful with your lives. Good Lord. Right out of the bat, you're a delegate. Good Lord. Let's see, we got about 4...
Well, if you're going to do it, you got to do it right.
Bingo, exactly. Yahtzee. Okay, we got 4 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. And in those 4 more minutes, I'd like to back up just a little bit. Let's go back. Okay. Where did you guys grow up? Did you grow up in New Jersey?
Well, me, I grew up in the Bronx. I grew up in the South Bronx. And during the 1980s, yes, everything you saw in those movies were true. I'm joking.
No, you're not.
Okay. Well, a lot of it was true. But yeah, I grew up in the South Bronx. And, you know, I always said to myself that just because things are the way they are now is not the way they're going to be. So, no, I didn't grow up in the suburbs. I grew up, when they say in the hood, I literally did.
So, I was born in Westchester, New York, and lived in New Jersey most of my life.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I decided I was grown, so I moved to New York.
And that's how we met.
And that's how we met.
Okay. About 3 more minutes before the bottom of the hour break. I got to ask you this. When the both of you guys are growing up individually, what are some of your best memories of growing up?
Oh, wow.
Because I'll tell you, I have a ton. One of my best memories is going downtown. We were born in Sacramento, and going downtown to my grandma's house. And it's summertime, and Mom and Dad are there. Grandpa and Grandma are there. The next door neighbors are there. It's late at night. It's summer. The sun is going down. That just shines for me. It just resonates for me.
I think for me, I'd have to answer a little differently. Some of my best childhood memories would be Christmas.
Yeah. Yes.
My mother used to get like the Grinch when it was time to decorate, which was fine with me because I would put a bow on anything that didn't move and anyone that didn't move.
She still does.
Yes.
October 31st is when we start decorating in our house.
Yeah, the tree goes.
I have no choice.
Yep. So Christmas, my mother, she loved to bake a lot, and every gift looked like it came from the most expensive department store you could think of. She took her time with ribbons and bows, and I mean like cloth ribbons.
She was a gift connoisseur.
And curling ribbons to put the little curly cues on each package. And she would make sure that the whole bottom of the tree was covered with different packages of different colors and shapes and sizes, and everything was color coordinated. It was always awesome on Christmas morning to go downstairs and see that.
Yeah.
Folks, we're listening.
I think my childhood, the best things I remember is always, because I have a huge family.
Okay.
I have 11.
We're at the bottom of the hour.
We're at the bottom?
Yeah, we'll come back. And
Okay.
Mike, hey, I want
to think about it.
Mike, don't think I don't want to hear from you, sir, because I do. Folks, we are listening to Shannon and Mike Wright of The Right Way. They are here on the SHR Media Network Monday through Friday. It's a morning show. You got to listen to their show. We're going to come back after about 4 minutes or so, and then we're going to talk about something that they kind of hinted at, like, hey, how did you guys meet?
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
The new show on the SHR Media Network, Sackheads Against Tyranny. On shrmedia.com. Go there quick like a bunny, 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific, every Wednesday. Live and direct on the SHR Media Network. shrmedia.com. Be there.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m., Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The Right Guy on SHR Media.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever,
because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, who's going to take Sean's chair?
I'll run the buttons if you want.
The what?
The slider
the
thingies. Those
what?
Things.
We have those?
Yeah, right over there.
Where?
It's on the board. That damn technology.
Fucking technology.
I know. What are we going to call it?
Call what?
The show.
What?
The show.
What show?
The new show, Wednesdays. Every Wednesday on SHRmedia.com. 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. Sackheads.
Against tyranny.
There you go.
Against tyranny.
I like that. Let's do it.
You guys are porked.
Hello, I'm Tim Hart. I'm the guy BZ hires, due to his shameless contract with the SHR Media Network, to voice his promos. He'd like me to tell you that the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be found on SHR Media Network, Spreaker, and YouTube every Tuesday and Thursday night at 11 p.m. Eastern and 8 p.m. Pacific, featuring right thinking from a left brain and doing the job the American media maggots won't. You'll find that the speech is free, but the drinks are not. There, in the saloon, just when safety pin manufacturers are running out of metal for the diapers of the leftists, BZ is sending his personal drones of freedom into the wheelhouses and ossicles of lovers of sovereignty and liberty nationally and globally. Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, BZ swears that no rights were harmed in the making of this promo.
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR Media Network studios. I'm sorry, the palatial and sumptuous SHR Media studios right behind me. Tonight we have the luxury of listening to Shannon and Mike Wright, and they're the creators and producers of The Right Way with Shannon and Mike every morning here on the SHR Media Network, shrmedia.com. That's where you need to go if you want to listen to them. Before we left, I asked you guys, or I said basically I was going to ask you guys, and you kind of hinted around it a little bit. How did you guys get together? How did you find yourselves?
Well, that's an interesting story. I
knew
that
it.
Question.
I knew it.
Okay. When Shannon and I first met, I worked for a nonprofit in New York, and it was funny. She came in as a consultant to the nonprofit to help the nonprofit be less dependent upon grants and figure out ways to make money for ourselves, and so we could be self-sufficient. And when she came in, she was telling us that we were doing everything wrong, and I really didn't appreciate it. So I went to one of my coworkers and I was like, "Who is this lady and why is she here? I don't like her. I can't stand her." And she was like, "I heard what you said." And she came over to me and she said, "I'm the lady that gets paid 3 figures an hour to tell you what to do." And I said, oh. And then I said, can I work with you? And that's how it started. And we worked together on different projects in the city, and we've done different things together, and we always were into business together. So it just kind of like worked. The relationship worked that way, and we became friends before the relationship, grew. Right. So that's how. And we're going on. This is our 20th anniversary coming up this December.
Yeah.
Beautiful. God bless you guys. That's great. 2 decades. Outstanding. Yeah. Since you went there, I'm going to go there too. Into relationships. What do you think? What's the secret of a good relationship? In other words, how else can I say this? What do you know now about developing and keeping a relationship, being married, that you wish you knew, 10, 20 years ago? Is there a key to a good relationship?
Honesty.
Okay.
Honesty and being friends. I learned as a man, we tend to keep things to ourselves, and we always say that women want to talk. They always want to, have a conversation about things. But I learned that if you're open and you don't really have anything to hide, it can work well. Because if she trusts you and you trust her, and there's that honesty with each other, it kind of grows. And that's what we have, and we became closer friends. Like, she's my best friend. And, anything, like, if something was to go wrong tomorrow and the cops got here, she'd know all the secrets. I'd be in trouble. So it's best to keep her as my best friend.
Wow. I like that.
Yeah, that's it for me. Yeah, I believe it's being friends, that it builds a relationship.
Yeah, I would have to agree. That, and recognizing that I'm going to go there. I'm Michael's second wife, and so he, learned better and allowed me to properly train him to understand that he just needs to say, yes, dear, and you're correct. And everything is wonderful.
Isn't that funny?
That's true. Yeah. I got to agree with her on that, because my first marriage, I said a lot of no's. I was always no, absolutely not. And see, this time around, I'm like, okay, yes, dear. I keep my head low and I keep it moving.
You do what a previous boss of mine used to do: walk fast, carry a lot of keys that jangle, and carry a clipboard. The other thing that I learned in a relationship that I wish I'd, and this is number 2 for me, number 2 marriage, that I had no idea. I got married kind of young, and we were both kind of morons, I have to admit. She admitted that to me later. The biggest thing that I did not do that I wish that I had done is it's all about communication. It's all about, just as you say, it's about being honest. It's about being truthful. And it's about telling and expressing yourself. And I can honestly say, just like you guys, my wife is my best friend. And I think those are some incredible keys to success.
Yeah. I know a lot of times people ask, they ask us, how do you guys get along so well? And it's like we both just said, it's being honest. Like, she has all of my passwords to my Facebook and things like that. See, once you start that deception, then other things come along with it. And that causes problems, because then that person doesn't really trust you because they think you have something to hide. And that starts arguments. Shannon can go on anything that I have. I have no problem. I leave my phone sitting around. I don't have time for stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, the reality is, though.
Now, this was the reality. that was my dream.
That So the reality was, my dad wanted a son, so he taught me how to work on cars and how to box. And Mike is afraid of my left hook.
Oh.
And that's the funny thing. She is a lefty, too.
Perfect.
So it just worked out well.
Yeah.
We're going to change.
She has a mean left hook.
We're going to change gears a little bit. It seems that today it's I don't know, maybe you can quantify it in a different way than I do, but it seems like it's open warfare between everyone on every front. It's like personal, political, the identity politics are just off the charts. Now, you guys do talk about politics on your show, though you're not strictly a political show. When was it, do you think, that the both of you became aware that, yeah, politics are playing a pretty big role in our lives? Did you kind of feel that way all along, or were you kind of dragged, like me a little bit, kicking and screaming into having to address any number of political aspects in today's culture?
Absolutely kicking and screaming.
Okay.
It was
honesty, clarity,
so
love
not
it.
the plan.
Well, I mean, for Shannon, though, she seemed to take to it naturally. Me, I was more like she said, come on, let's go, and pulled me along because I really wasn't interested in politics. I could care less until Shannon said things to me like, well, you have to worry about the kids and, the kids' education and your taxes, and things like that. And I was like, okay. So I'm starting to see it. And as the more I got into it, the more I started to see what politics was really about. So at first I was like, no, but I'm into it. Like, I'm really into it now, unfortunately.
He is. I think the first thing that really started it for me was the kids and their schools.
Oh,
I didn't like the school. I didn't like the curriculum. I didn't like the teachers. It seemed like the kids were just being warehoused.
Yeah.
And I actually went to a Board of Education meeting, and I said, in any business, your product, you get paid to provide a product or a service.
Mm-hmm.
Your product is supposed to be a well-educated young person.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I stood up in this Board of Education meeting and I said, well, this is the biggest number of expensive bag of rocks I have ever seen, because none of these children are going to have any future but asking, will that be paper or plastic with your order?
And to be honest, we actually ended up homeschooling our kids.
Yeah. So the chairwoman of the school board at the time said, I guess she was really serious about that. She said, so why don't you help me fix it? And I started working with her and doing community stuff, and then it came to, so
Beautiful.
Why don't you run for office? And I said, absolutely not. And I didn't, but she did, and she became mayor of our town.
Yeah.
And I was on her first youth advisor. I was an adult advisor to the Youth Advisory Council for the city, where we actually got kids involved in coming out to city council meetings and being in city hall and talking about what they feel they need, and then us explaining to them what has to happen for them to get that, and really them being youth ambassadors throughout the city.
Yeah.
Shannon, you and I talked last night very briefly because I wanted to set up a little bit how we were going to handle the interview. And one of the things I mentioned, because every person that I've talked to that's basically a black conservative in America today, being conservative, being religious, how has that affected the various interactions and others around you, like your job, your personal lives, your religious lives? Because I know a lot of the other folks that I've talked to, I've had Ken on the show, Lonnie on the show, I've had Melanie Collette on the show, and they have story after story after story. And if you want to talk about incivility,
well, it gave me a renewed appreciation for the Second Amendment.
I love that answer. I didn't see that coming, but I love that answer.
As I got more involved in politics here, literally, I improved my skill set and my appreciation of the Second Amendment. Because I knew that I'm not exactly the tallest person in any room, so I need to make sure that my first shot counts. So, whether it be verbally or otherwise, I needed to up my game.
I imagine that there are some instances that you really do not want to talk about, and that's certainly understandable. But
matter of fact, I will share something with you really briefly.
Okay.
During my first election cycle here in Baltimore, I had an opponent who claimed to be a Republican. He was of a different faith. He was Muslim, and believed that because he was male and Muslim, that I needed to understand what my place was, which was not running against him. So he publicly declared that I should be beheaded.
Yeah, so we had security for a while, and it was really bad.
Okay,
it was really bad.
You can't see me right now unless you're watching on the streaming portion, but after you said that, as you were talking, I'm looking into the camera, and my mouth was open.
So I actually apparently became careless-listed at that point.
Yeah.
Because
careless.
He was serious that I needed to be beheaded.
Yeah.
Holy
I angered him a little bit. Yeah. So, you know what? I'm honest. So when he and I first met, we were both on the ballot, and he already had a whole bunch of issues and baggage with him. And I said, listen, one of us needs to drop out because only one of us is going to win. And the odds are better if, well, quite frankly, if you drop out. And he looked at me, and there were two men. Michael had gone outside because he wanted to punch him. So Michael had gone outside, and there were two male friends standing, one in between us and one on the side of him. And he said, so who are you that I should drop out the race to you? And I said, you need to drop out because you can't beat me. I'm going to win.
Ooh.
And his little tiny fist balled up. And he remembered the two guys that was standing on the sides of him.
And we're talking about a man who's been arrested for domestic battery several times.
Wonderful.
So he didn't take that too well. And then I beat him in the primary.
Yes!
But
yes!
funny thing.
Yes! Outstanding.
Funny thing, he decided he'd fix my wagon, and he put his name on the ballot, and he's now on our central committee as of November.
Okay, not quite so yes. Let me go another place right now, because I just had an entire 2-hour show last Tuesday about the walkaway movement, about the hashtag walkaway. And I'm getting the founder of the hashtag walkaway on next Tuesday night, Brendan Straka. And until I started watching some of these videos, I didn't understand how really important that movement is. Does the walkaway hashtag speak to you guys in any way? And do you know people who have said, after getting to know what that is, that, you know what, I think I really am done. I'm done with the Democrat Party.
Wow. I'm not really familiar with that hashtag, honestly.
Me either.
Basically what that means is Brandon Straka is a gay hairdresser from the East Coast, and he finally realized that the Democrat Party is not watching out for me, and it really doesn't care for me at all. And Brandon Straka started this hashtag, and then everybody just piled on. There's video after video after video. Blacks, Hispanics, gays, Asians, all stripes, all makes, all bents, all color, who have said essentially that I've been used like a bad dish towel by the Democrat Party for years. I have my own opinions. I keep my own counsel. I get to say what I want. I don't have to travel in lockstep with everything. And one of the reasons that I'm disgusted with the Democrat Party is, sorry, I lapsed right there, the Democrats. My apologies. But one of the reasons that I'm leaving them is that the Democrats are finally beginning to realize that I'm an actual human being. I'm not a monolithic voter. I'm not just a block that you trot out during voting times and I vote for you, and then you do absolutely nothing for me and do everything against me. And then now when you find out that I actually have a brain, I'm not a monolithic voting bloc, then you cast real Americans aside and you're going for illegals because you've determined that I have a brain and I'm not the moron that you think I am. I guess in a way that's a summary of it, but I had no idea what a big thing this is. And so I'm just kind of curious.
Well, I guess with us, we've always been that way. Because one of the things that I always realize is the Democratic Party uses people. And we saw that a long time ago.
Yes.
They want your vote. You know, one of the most insulting things that the Democrat Party does to African Americans, to black people, period, is that they assume because you're black, you're going to vote Democrat. That is so hurtful. It's so, you know, it's insulting that you would think that just because I'm black that I have to do this. You know, and then they take us for granted. I look at all the things that Hillary Clinton, I mean, she couldn't even be bothered half the time when she was running because she didn't care. She just like, oh, they're going to vote for me because it's my birthright or something like that. That's the way she acted. So to me, it's always been a thing of, I'm not doing this. First of all, I like my independence. I don't like being handed everything. Unlike some people believe that people want things handed to them.
Yes.
I'd rather work for mine. I like the entrepreneurial spirit. I believe in the Second Amendment. I could go on, but you get my drift. And that's just the way I feel, Shannon.
It's making...
you covered it.
Yeah.
It's making an assumption for people that... I can only say it's insulting. If I were a Democrat and I weren't eating or drinking the Kool-Aid, so to speak, that it's insulting. I can think of no other word than that, to just make the assumption that because my parents voted Democrat or some of the friends that I've got, that it's not a hint or a guidance. It's an expectation that's how my brain is wired, as if you're not an individual, as if you cannot make up your own mind. And again, that's why I say it's absolutely insulting. Darn, I wish I had more time with you guys. We got about 6 minutes left before the top of the hour. I want to throw something out to you guys, and I'd very much like to have your input. Hugh Hewitt, I used to listen to him in the afternoon, and Hugh Hewitt decided that he was going to go for broke and go over to the East Coast. Replacing Hugh Hewitt was this guy from Los Angeles that I'd never heard of before, who it turns out is a libertarian, and I have a lot of libertarian bents myself. And the guy's name is Larry Elder, and I've met him at Freedom Fest a couple of times. And we saw you guys there. And exactly. Larry Elder is one of the sharpest cookies that I know in quite some time. But he had sort of a tri-pronged manner for avoiding poverty. And he says it applies to anybody. It applies to the black community, white community, it doesn't matter. He said, you want to avoid poverty. Number 1, you finish high school. Number 2, don't have a child before the age of 20. Number 3, get married first. Do all those things, and you will not be poor. And
that's an interesting concept.
I
have heard that before.
I have to agree with that. And because we got 5 more minutes, there's another thing that I want to throw out into the ozone for you guys, and I'd like your opinions. People say we can't get America back on track. And I think that's wrong. I think it can be gotten back on track. And I think we're kind of in the mix of doing it right now. But I suggest these things, and I want to know if I'm way off base. I say, number 1, you bring God back into the home and the community. You bring discipline back into the home and the community. You bring responsibility and accountability back into the home and the community. You stop with the stupid helicopter and lawn mowing parenting. You let kids fall down, and you teach them how to pick themselves back up. You got to wean people off the government nipple. We treat bears in zoos and parks more responsibly than a lot of people. You set expectations of children and adults high. You treat everybody with respect and not belittling, and you stop striating America by way of identity politics, and you start unifying on borders, language, and culture. Yeah, I know that's from Michael Savage. I'm not a big fan of Michael Savage, but I have to say that I completely agree with his unification in terms of borders, language, and culture. Am I crazy?
Absolutely not.
Well, not completely.
Not at all. Absolutely not.
Okay, if you guys were president for a while, or if you were in charge of a program to bring America back, what are some of the things that you would want to do, that you'd want to see America do?
Oh, I don't think we have enough time for that, because I have an answer. Okay, so here's what we do.
Okay.
We would abolish the public school system, and we would make everything private or charter.
Wow.
And allow for vouchers.
Wow.
That's number one.
Wow. Home run right off the bat.
We would redo the welfare system so that instead of seemingly being congratulated or rewarded for not having the father of your children in the home, we would create a tax incentive for businesses and for the couples to actually get married and not lose their benefits. However, there would be a job requirement, and as your income went up, your benefits would go down, but you wouldn't feel it because your income is going up. That's number two.
Wow.
I would look at some of the different agencies that we have. HUD. HUD would be my number one go-to organization to really redo the principles. For example, I would take the, what is that called? The opportunity zones.
Oh, okay.
I would take an opportunity zone funding approach. I would create an opportunity zone in each and every urban area. I would make sure that the folks that don't want to give to the charities in those areas and feel however they feel about poverty and poor and minorities and all that, but like their money to invest in those urban opportunity zones. I would then use that money and follow the principles of the HUD SHR program, which is the first-time low-income home buyers program.
Mm-hmm.
And I would use their same metrics in terms of the numbers that I would invest. And I would turn some of these folks that for generations and generations that have been free and all of that, but have never owned a home, into home buyers and home owners, so that you increase their understanding and their accountability and responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
So now, once you've got the tax structure redone, the welfare system redone, education redone, and you're creating a new generation of homeowners, I think everything else kind of falls into place.
Well, your first one just knocked it. I think it knocked it right out of the park. That's an amazing thing to say. I have, you can't see it, you're not watching on the TV, but I swear, I had 10 pages of questions for you guys, and I didn't get to a fraction of them. You are a fabulous couple. You are fabulous people with a great show.
Thank you.
Folks, we've been talking to Shannon and Mike of the Right Way Show. It can be heard right here on the SHR Media Network. Tell us, Shannon and Mike, when your show is on, and tell us again where you guys can be found on social media and all other points on the internet.
So we are on from 7 to 9 a.m. East Coast, Monday through Thursday. And we can be found on Facebook at Right Way with Shannon and Mike in the AM. And let's see, where else? SHR Media. And our website, liverightforyou.com.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, this is Shannon and Mike. And again, I got to tell you, too, thank you ever so kindly for staying up so late, because, hey, it's midnight right now. And thanks for staying up so late to be on the show. And trust me, we got to get you back. You guys have an open invitation to appear anytime. So thank you for your time. God bless you guys.
Wait, you can't get rid of us yet. I've got a question for you.
Okay. All right.
What is the full name of your show?
Oh, boy.
And your tagline?
Okay. It's the Bloviating Zeppelins Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct from the SHR Media Studios.
Obstacles. So
How does the berserk bobcat get icicles?
Well,
I gotta know.
The berserk bobcat is a convert. I didn't tell you this, but I used to be a raving leftist in my early days.
Oh, wow.
In college. I was a little to the left of Che Guevara. Maybe a little bit left of that, not quite certain, but when I had to strike out on my own, my ossicles, the sides of my head, were opened up because life came and hit me right in the face. And that's when I became a conservative.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
How that comes out.
Thank you. Thank you, BB.
I was curious. I just had to ask.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having us on your show.
Okay, you guys have a great night, and see you later.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, that was a great interview, Shannon and Mike. And we're going to go to this. We're going to come back. And if you want to hear the best encapsulation of what happened today in the Kavanaugh hearings, I've got it all. You're going to hear it all. These are all the best cuts. I'm going to save you from 6 to 8 hours of listening to this stuff. I've got it all right here. If you didn't hear it, don't go anywhere. Come right back.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capital, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through shrmedia.com, highplanestalkradio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on blogtalkradio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights.
SHAT.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on SHRmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. Insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of.
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Kind of a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, sackheads against tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
I can steal that because, hey, I'm the producer on Sackheads Against Tyranny every Wednesday night. And so that's the cut that I played. And I made that cut. I get to do that, so I get to play it. It's just, hey, it's in there. It's on my computer, so I'm going to play it. I don't always have to play my stuff. I get to play other people's stuff as well. I'm sure you realize that a certain little something occurred today. And that was the hearing, the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing, where Professor Christine Blasey Ford appeared to make certain allegations against Associate Justice nominee Judge Brett Kavanaugh of the District of the D.C. Appeals Court. And it was a shit show. But not exactly in the way that you might think. I have probably a collection of some of the greatest outtakes collected just for you. But where we're going to start today, and if I get enough time, I have some other stories that I'd like to tell you about. But right up front, I need you to hear all of these cuts, because some of them, there was a lot said that even the media didn't really recognize. There were some things kind of in between the repartee, between all the senators and the Judge Kavanaugh himself and Professor Ford. But I want to step back a little bit. I want to go back in history. I want to go back to 1991, because there are two very important cuts, audio cuts, that you need to hear from 1991. If you remember, if you happen to hear any of what occurred today, what transpired, the Democrats were hammering relentlessly on Judge Kavanaugh, saying, the onus is on you to demand that the FBI investigate you. And this is clearly the agreed upon theme of the Democrats before they all came in and sat down. By the way, in the Senate Judiciary Committee, there are 11 Republicans and 10 Democrats, and that's how the vote, I believe, is going to go, because the Senate Judiciary Committee is going to vote tomorrow. They've said it. I think they're voting at 9:30 Eastern, which is 6:30 for me, which means Mrs. Beezy's little boy is not going to be up at that time, because I have a fairly decent idea. Hey, hands of people that think that he's going to pass the Senate Judiciary Committee and get out of the committee. Me, I do. And I think that once you hear some of these audio cuts, if you haven't yet heard them, I think you may end up coming to that conclusion yourself. But going back to 1991, the Democrats were harping on the FBI. We got to get an FBI investigation going. We have to get an FBI investigation going. Okay. Well, didn't somebody back in 1991 say something about a certain FBI investigation and the value of an FBI investigation? because at the time, if you remember, that those were the Senate hearings between the allegations of Anita Hill and now sitting Associate Justice Clarence Thomas. Here's Joe Biden telling you how important FBI hearings are. Too bad he's not sitting in the Senate chambers right now, because he seemed to have a little bit of a different opinion back in 1991.
The last thing I'll point out, the next person that refers to an FBI report as being worth anything obviously doesn't understand anything. FBI explicitly does not, in this or any other case, reach a conclusion. Period. Period. So, Judge, there's no reason why you should know this. The reason why we cannot rely on the FBI report, you wouldn't like it if we did, because it is inconclusive. They say he said, she said, and they said. Period.
Thanks, Joe.
So when people wave an FBI report before you, understand, they do not reach conclusions. They do not make, as my friend points out more adequate, they do not make recommendations.
And right next to him is the Lion of the Senate, Ted Kennedy, the killer of young women. Oh, that's right. Judge Kavanaugh hasn't killed anybody, but the killer, an actual killer of a young woman, is sitting right next to Joe Biden. Speaking of Joe Biden, let's go back to a little bit of flashback, because we know where the verb borked came from. I'm hoping that there isn't a new verb to be Kavanaugh'd. But let's remember, history tells us a lot of things. And let's start with another bit of history, again from Joe Biden.
Committee will please come to order. Judge.
Because just as Clarence Thomas is about to talk, there's going to be another judge that will be talking shortly after this.
It's a tough day and tough night for you, I know. Let me ask, do you have anything you'd like to say before we begin? I understand that your preference is, which is totally and completely understandable, that we go 1 hour tonight, 30 minutes on each side. Am I correct in that?
That's right.
Do you have anything you'd like to say?
Folks, if you thought that you knew what Kavanaugh face was, you need to dredge up this video and check out what Clarence Thomas face is.
Senator, I would like to start by saying unequivocally, uncategorically, that I deny each and every single allegation against me today that suggested in any way that I had conversations of a sexual nature or about pornographic material with Anita Hill, that I ever attempted to date her, that I ever had any personal sexual interest in her, or that I in any way ever harassed her. A second, and I think more important point, I think that this today is a travesty. I think that it is disgusting. I think that this hearing should never occur in America. This is a case in which this sleaze, this dirt, was searched for by staffers of members of this committee.
Does this sound familiar to you at all?
Was then leaked to the media, and this committee and this body validated it and displayed it at prime time over our entire nation. How would any member on this committee, any person in this room, or any person in this country would like sleaze said about him or her in this fashion, or this dirt dredged up, and this gossip and these lies displayed in this manner? How would any person like it? The Supreme Court is not worth it. No job is worth it. I'm not here for that. I'm here for my name, my family, my life,
you bet,
and my integrity. I think something is dreadfully wrong with this country when any person in this free country would be subjected to this. This is not a closed room. There was an FBI investigation. This is not an
By the way, and we know what Joe Biden thinks about the veracity of an FBI investigation and its purpose.
Opportunity to talk about difficult matters privately or in a closed environment. This is a circus.
Okay, stop right here just for a second. Dan Butcher, who's in chat, just came out with an article, which I have not looked at right now, but I see that in the URL, it indicates breaking. We have the votes. Now, that would be the Senate Judiciary Committee. And I know that earlier there were 4 people that had gotten together in a little bit of an enclave. And that was, let me see, Jeff Flake, Joe Manchin, Murkowski, and Collins. And during that amount of time, I indicated that there was information indicating that Joe Manchin was going to vote for Kavanaugh. The Wall Street Journal editorial board said that they were going to go for Kavanaugh. There was another gentleman that said he was going to go for Kavanaugh. Now, I don't know if this, and I don't have the ability to click on this link just yet, or I'm going to lose some other cuts that I have. But already, okay, what that means is if they believe that they have the votes for the Senate Judiciary Committee taken tomorrow morning at 9:30, then it's not entirely impossible that, as was indicated, we could have an up and down vote on Judge Kavanaugh on Tuesday of next week. I'll throw the potentiality of that out in just a little bit. And thanks for that, Dan, for putting that in there. I really appreciate that because I can't look at the news while I'm doing this. I need another screen, and I've only got 4 screens looking at me right now. Oh, good. Let's continue with Clarence Thomas because what he has to say is vitally important, as is a lot of the other things that were said today, and I will leave you to draw your own conclusions.
It's a national disgrace. And from my standpoint,
listen to this.
As a black American, as far as I'm concerned, it is a high-tech lynching for uppity blacks who in any way deign to think for themselves, to do for themselves, to have different ideas.
And isn't that just basically what we were saying with Shannon and Mike?
And it is a message that unless you kowtow to an old order, this is what will happen to you. You will be lynched, destroyed, caricatured by a committee of the U.S. Senate rather than hung from a tree.
That speech still moves me today. I was there watching the hearings when they occurred, and I find that speech as stirring to me today as it was back in 1991. It still grabs me in the throat. Just as Clarence Thomas spoke from the heart about what was really going on by way of the Democrats, and we know what Joe Biden said about the FBI, here's the new threshold. Judge Kavanaugh doesn't exactly put it this way, but I will put it this way for you, for him. The threshold that the Democrats want now has gotten to the point where if you don't openly demand an FBI investigation of yourself, you are evil, oppressive, and every ist and obe that the Democrats can think of. Let's be clear and plain. As far as the Democrats are concerned, Brett Kavanaugh is a suspect. And in anyone's reality, when would you ever have the suspect in any case demand that certain agencies or people investigate the suspect? That's sheer insanity. That's kabuki theater. And that's what happened today. And here's Judge Brett Kavanaugh.
This confirmation process has become a national disgrace. The Constitution gives the Senate an important role in the confirmation process. but you have replaced advice and consent with search and destroy.
Perfect. Dave Milner in chat says, hey, Dan, why would the Senate Democrats break ranks on a confirmation vote? What's in it for them? I suspect it's this. They actually, some of them, may have been listening today. When I get through playing this, as I indicate, I think you'll have a better grasp of Professor Ford, and I'm very sure that you will have a much better grasp of Brett Kavanaugh and of the tactics and procedures that are being used by the Democrats. I'm not a huge fan of Lindsey Graham, but if there's one thing that that has gone around the world 30 times already, Lindsey Graham's cuts, and I have both of them in their entirety, because Lindsey Graham corked off in the corridor after the Ford testimony, then came back in to speak when he had his minutes with Judge Kavanaugh, and then he had a little tete-a-tete with Dick Durbin. But before we get there, I want to hear how Brett Kavanaugh feels about what's being done to him, just as we heard about now Associate Justice Clarence Thomas and what was done to him in 1991.
Since my nomination in July, there's been a frenzy on the left to come up with something, anything, to block my confirmation. Shortly after I was nominated, the Democratic Senate leader said he would, quote, oppose me with everything he's got. A Democratic senator on this committee publicly referred to me as evil. Evil. Think about that word. And said that those who supported me were, quote, complicit in evil. Another Democratic senator on this committee said, quote, Judge Kavanaugh is your worst nightmare. A former head of the Democratic National Committee said, quote, Judge Kavanaugh will threaten the lives of millions of Americans for decades to come.
Let's stop here just for a little bit. I'm looking in the chat room, and people are talking about Senator Manchin. And I put this tweet out earlier today, and I'd like to share it with you, because I think it tends to indicate where a lot of things are going. And I put this out because I had somebody send it to me. A source close to Senator Manchin says, quote, short of claims of definitively proving Dr. Ford's allegations or a realization that Kavanaugh will gut the health care law, Manchin will side with the overwhelming number of people in West Virginia who want Kavanaugh confirmed. So, to Dave, who was asking the question why, and Dan was responding, it's because the people in West Virginia want that to happen, and if he wants to keep his seat, he's finally coming to the realization he may have to come around.
I understand the passions of the moment, but I would say to those senators, your words have meaning. Millions of Americans listened carefully to you. Given comments like those, is it any surprise that people have been willing to do anything, to make any physical threat against my family, to send any violent email to my wife, to make any kind of allegation against me and against my friends, to blow me up and take me down?
More truth in that than you care to recognize. During these, I didn't watch all of them, not completely. I went in and out. There are a couple of other things that I had to do. But I did see what I considered to be the highlights. And I would be lying to you if during some of this testimony, my eyes didn't tear up a little bit. Here's a cut where Judge Kavanaugh said that his daughter was praying for the accuser.
I'm not questioning that Dr. Ford may have been sexually assaulted by some person in some place at some time. But I have never done this to her or to anyone. That's not who I am. It is not who I was. I am innocent of this charge. I intend no ill will to Dr. Ford and her family. The other night, Ashley and my daughter Liza said their prayers, and little Liza, all of 10 years old, said to Ashley, we should pray for the woman. It's a lot of wisdom from a 10-year-old.
About this time, I was getting allergies.
We mean no ill will.
If that's not from the heart, I don't know what is. We heard what Judge Kavanaugh thinks is the strategy by the Democrats. Let's hear Senator Tillis tell us succinctly and clearly what the strategy is to sink Kavanaugh.
On themselves to release committee confidential documents instead of inspecting.
Sorry, let's start that from the very beginning.
And it certainly has not happened. Thank you, Mr.
Without
Chairman.
objection, that will be included. Senator Tillis.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Kavanaugh, thank you again for being here, and I apologize for what you're going through right now. I can't imagine it. I've gone through a campaign and had a lot of smears, but it pales in comparison to what you've had to deal with. I think one point that I'd like to make from the onset, if we go back and review how this committee process has worked, we've got a lot of work to do. We've had members take it on themselves to release committee confidential documents instead of respecting the process. We've had an allegation held for nearly 7 weeks that would have given us plenty of time to investigate. And then when we finally got the information, I invite everybody, particularly the American public, there is an investigation going on. And a lot of it's been documented. There's a chronology on the website that says that each and every time an allegation was made, the staff followed up on it.
Boom. What this is indicative of is the fact that the Democrats continue to lie. They cannot not lie. I think it's in their DNA. It's in their genes. So I'm going to throw this out to you right now. Do you think there are going to be consequences? Like I said, I'm going to be talking to Brandon Straka, who started the hashtag walkaway next Tuesday. You can bet I'm going to ask him this. Are there going to be consequences come November 6th? Can there not be consequences? And subsequently, if November 6th happens to go not entirely dissimilarly to November the 8th back in 2016, wow. Let's continue. Let's talk about the tactics and the strategy and the lies of the Democrats.
And sadly, in several different instances, the Democrats declined to participate. They listened in on at least one interview with you, didn't ask a single question. If they wanted to find other leads and other things to do, why not ask? If you're really trying to get to the facts, if you're really trying to do your job to investigate.
That's the problem. They're not trying to do their job to investigate. They have no interest in doing the job to investigate. They're not even remotely interested in doing that at all. Folks, we're going to take a break, and then we will be right back. Again, have I got some audio cuts for you? They're gripping. They're incredible. This is happening in a Senate chamber where it was the attempted... Shannon was talking about some Muslim guy suggesting that she be beheaded. This is not unlike the Democrats attempting a political beheading.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Hey, it's Sean from the Sackheads Radio Show. Also one of the owners here at the SHR Media Network. Are you opinionated? Have you ever wanted to do your own show? Have you ever heard somebody like the Sackheads and go, yeah, I could probably do that better? Well, now's your chance. Send me a 5-minute clip at sackheadsradio@gmail.com, and maybe you can be part of the SHR broadcasting team. sackheadsradio@gmail.com.
Broadcasting behind enemy lines in occupied California, a mere 2 miles from the state capitol, the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show can be heard every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 p.m. Pacific and 11 p.m. Eastern, only on the SHR Media Network. Go to shrmedia.com to listen. You can also watch on the SHR Media Facebook page and the SHR Media YouTube channel. No goldfish were abused in the making of this ad.
When dirty politicians, shadow governments, and deceptive Islam blind the world with fake stream media smoke, their only fear is one man with a cane. I'm Dave Milner. Join me through SHRmedia.com, HighPlainsTalkRadio.com, and the Western Free Radio Network at Spreaker, YouTube, and iTunes for a different perspective weekly on the Unpleasant Blind Guy. And catch me on Jeff Mitchell's EDL Radio on BlogTalkRadio.com. There's
no surrender ever.
Because truth is not always pleasant.
Hey guys, it's Sackhead Clint. I'm excited to tell you about a brand new show here on the SHR Media Network. I'm teaming up with the one and only all-powerful, the bloviating Zeppelin, sitting here to my left, bringing to you a fresh new show here on the network. It's Against Tyranny. And we'll be picking up where the Sackheads left off. Excited to be with you, sir.
Sackheads Against Tyranny.
We're going to chat. We're going to chat Wednesday nights. Sackheads Against Tyranny.
Wednesday nights, 11 p.m. Oh, it's the same time, right? 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific.
Same SAC time, same SAC channel.
Yep. SHRmedia.com.
See what I did there?
It's your business diva here, Melanie Collette. I am inviting you to a front row seat as I discuss some of the most intriguing details of wealth and finance with today's movers and shakers in the world of business. Listen in and discover financial truths on a global, domestic, and household scale. Uncover topics that will impact your wallet today and in the future. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 2 p.m. West, right here on SHR Media and High Plains Pundit Talk Radio. You can't afford to miss it.
Human by race, Christian by faith, American by nationality, and conservative by choice. Reverend Ralph J. Chittum Sr. is the right guy on SHR Media from 8:05 to 9 p.m. Monday through Friday. And if on the rare occasion I am ever wrong, I will still always be right. The right guy on SHR Media.
Hey, this is Michael Wright.
And I'm Shannon Wright.
Join us for The Right Way with Shannon and Mike, Monday through Thursday from 7 to 9 a.m. right here on SHR Media.
Why are they joining us?
For fun things like sports, politics.
Oh, maybe some news and entertainment?
And all kinds of other things.
Money and recipes and events, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, so join us Monday through Thursday, 7 to 9 a.m. here on shrmedia.com.
Hey, BZ. So the plan's working. You got rid of Sacco. Sean is now stepping away.
I never even saw him.
And I know, and insidious. Insidious. You know, we talked about this for, for the last 3 years, and finally coming to fruition.
You know I'm still in the room, right?
It's almost like he's here still. Did you hear that?
Yeah, it's kind of...
It's amazing. It's kind of
at you.
It's kind of eerie.
Like a poltergeist.
Like a poltergeisty thing.
Yeah, Sackheads Against Tyranny.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are listening to the bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here from the SHR Media palatial and sumptuous studios, 2 miles from the Bill Mill, the locus of evil on the entire left coast, the capital of California, in Sacramento, where at night, when I wrap up at about 10 o'clock, less than a half hour from now, I'm going to go outside. It's going to be a little cooler than when I came in, and I will, in fact, smell an additional thing. I will smell the brimstone and the sulfur and the evil, and perhaps I might smell even a little Senate flatulence. Or maybe I won't. I'm not sure. Let's continue with Senator Tillis, who is about to make a really big revelation as to how the Democrats work these days.
We're investigating. It's our job. I think in response to the ranking member's question that Judge Kavanaugh said, I'm here, you're asking me questions. But you know what? When the committee staff, I assume, directed by the ranking member, says, no, we're not going to ask questions of Judge Kavanaugh when he wanted to come in and clear his good name, what are you really after? You may not be after the truth. Maybe you are. Maybe you're after executing some sort of a political agenda. Maybe it's a mix of both. But I think you've been treated unfairly, and I'm amazed that after 32 hours of testimony, 1.5 hours I sat in this room, that none of these questions came up when it was all fully known. Lawyered up, as a matter of fact. I also want to go back to the comments this morning. I think I heard, and we can go back to the record if someone disagrees with me, I think I heard Dr. Ford say that she wasn't aware of the fact that we said we'd come to California, we'd make it confidential, we'll completely depose and ask any questions you want to. I think I heard her say she wasn't aware of that. I don't know where that came with counsel or not, or whether counsel just neglected to tell her counsel, but the fact of the matter is that offer was out there.
Chuck Grassley made that offer. I heard it any number of times. If that's not being conciliatory, I don't know what is.
Moving heaven and earth and even moving the schedule to get to the truth. We're doing an investigation. We're doing our level best. I hope that the American people who are watching this will go out to the Senate Judiciary. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Every opportunity you have to go and question a witness, every opportunity that we've had to find more truth, to find more facts.
By the way, as he's talking, Senator Feinstein is looking down at her desk.
We've done it. It's documented. We've got sworn statements. We're doing our job. We're doing the committee work. Judge Kavanaugh, I also have to say, I believe that you're you're the first major target of a new strategy that's developed here.
Exactly.
And I think you're right. I think it's just basically attack, attack, attack. It's not advise and consent. It's search and destroy. And maybe one of the best evidence of this is one of the websites, one of the groups that are out there attacking you and trying to create fodder and all of these red herrings has already acquired.
By the way, in case you didn't know, this is Senator Tom Tillis. He's a Republican from North Carolina.
A URL for the next judge that they're going to attack. URL's right here. They've already purchased it. They're ready to go. This is the playbook. This is the way we're going to run this committee from this point forward.
Did you hear what he just said?
Take a look at it.
Listen to what he said.
They're attacking you and trying to create fodder and all of these red herrings has already acquired a URL for the next judge that they're going to attack. URL's right here. They've already purchased it. They're ready to go. This is the playbook. This is the way we're going to run this committee from this point forward.
And
Take a look at it. I'll make sure we
yes.
get it out on our website. We've already got a Stop Another Judge who hasn't been nominated URL from the same people that are trying to mobilize people to attack you.
Thank you.
There are some people here who may sincerely have concerns. I would tell you to pound the table with your ranking member and the leadership on your side to say, why didn't we ask questions? Why did we listen in and defer? Why didn't we do our part of the investigation while this leader did everything he could to accommodate Dr. Ford and to run down every single lead that's been presented to us? Weeks after it was known to the minority.
Feinstein, of course, is not looking at him at all. After all, why should she? Then there's Feinstein herself. Then she decides that it's time to press an issue with Judge Kavanaugh, except that he's not quite having it. This is where Judge Kavanaugh begins to show some real honey badger.
Judge Kavanaugh, it's my understanding that you have denied the allegations by Dr. Ford, Ms. Ramirez, and Ms. Swetnick. Is that correct?
Yes. Why would you ask that question again?
All three of these women have asked the FBI to investigate their claims. I listened carefully to what you said. Your concern is evident and clear. And if you're very confident of your position, and you appear to be, why aren't you also asking the FBI to investigate these claims?
Right. Why don't all suspects demand that cops investigate them? You ridiculous bint.
Senator, I'll do whatever the committee wants. I wanted a hearing the day after the allegation came up. I wanted to be here that day. Instead, 10 days passed where all this nonsense is coming out, that I'm in gangs, I'm on boats in Rhode Island, I'm in Colorado, I'm cited all over the place. And these things are printed and run breathlessly by cable news. I wanted a hearing the next day. My family's been destroyed by this, Senator. Destroyed.
And
whoever wants, whatever the committee decides, I'm all in immediately. I'm all in immediately.
He's always been in immediately. If there was one individual who said, I will appear anywhere you tell me, it was Judge Brett Kavanaugh.
And the terrible and hard part of this is, when we get an allegation, we're not in a position to prove it or disprove it.
It's not terrible and hard. What President Trump said yesterday is absolutely correct. You bastards are behind closed doors, laughing your arse off, trying to figure out new ways to fuck Judge Brett Kavanaugh.
Therefore, we have to depend on some outside authority for it. And it just seemed to me then, when these allegations came forward, that you would want the FBI to investigate those claims. And
that's not his place to demand an FBI investigation. He is the one being accused. He is not the accuser. Wake up.
Clear it up once and for all.
Senator, the committee investigates. It's not for me to say how to do it, but
thank you.
Just so you know.
What did Tillis just say? Oh, it's up to this committee to do it. And by the way, we're already doing it.
FBI doesn't reach a conclusion. They would give you a couple 302s that just tell you what we said. So I'm here. I wanted to be here. I wanted to be here the next day. It's an outrage that I was not allowed to come and immediately defend my name and say, I didn't do this.
Okay, stop right now. In chat, Dan Butcher has said, and I saw this, there's video of this, and if you go around on Twitter or probably YouTube, I'd guess likely Twitter first, and or go to my timeline at BZEP, at BZEP. Go to my timeline where I make all my posts on Twitter, and you will see that, as Dan says, right after they broke for lunch today during the hearings for Kavanaugh, Sandra Jackson Lee, massive Democrat, was caught on camera passing an envelope of something that could have been cash, checks. It appeared to be somewhat full of something to Ford's lawyer. What was that all about?
And give you all this evidence. I'm not even in D.C. on the weekends in the summer of 1982. This happened on a weekday? Well, when I'm not at a Blair High School for a summer league game? I'm not at Tobin's house working out? I'm not at a movie with Suzanne? I wanted to be here right away.
Well, the difficult thing is that these hearings are set and set by the majority. But I'm talking about getting the evidence and having the evidence looked at. And I don't understand.
You can stop right here. You can see this is all from the Democrat playbook. They all got together and they said individually and collectively, here's what we'll do. We'll demand that Brett Kavanaugh call down an investigation on himself. And if he doesn't, well, that proves he's guilty. Wrong.
Well, we hear from the witnesses, but the FBI isn't interviewing them and isn't giving us any facts.
Here's what the FBI does. The FBI investigates federal crimes. They also are responsible for doing background investigations on judges. As this is so tedious to have to explain. It's been done to him 6 prior times. The FBI has said, unless demanded by the White House, and they do things of this on occasion, but unless demanded by the White House, we have other things to do.
So all we have...
You're interviewing me. You're interviewing me. You're doing it, Senator. I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're doing it. That's there's no conclusions reached.
And what you're saying, if I understand it, is that the allegations by Dr. Ford, Ms. Ramirez, and Ms. Swetnick are wrong.
How many times does he have to say that? Does he have to say that to each and every Democrat senator? No. You didn't get it the first damn time?
That is emphatically what I'm saying. Emphatically. The Swetnick thing is a joke. That is a farce.
Would you like to say more about it?
No.
Okay.
That is so damn good. I want to hear that again.
A joke. That is a farce.
Listen.
Would you like to say more about it?
No.
That's what she deserves. Just a one-word answer. No. I got about 10 more minutes. I'm going to have to step it up here a little bit and come up to some cuts. I want to get to the... Oh, here we go. This is one that I wanted to get to. This is Senator Lindsey Graham. And he's in the corridor after having just stepped out of the Senate chambers, after having heard testimony by Professor Christine Blasey Ford. And he's swamped by reporters. And we have not yet heard the testimony of Brett Kavanaugh, but this is what Senator Graham said just after he stepped outside.
Allegation that you wouldn't do, Mr. Judge Kavanaugh, the service of
Would the counsel, could you let her answer
so
the extent to which she doesn't?
Okay, hang on just one second. I got to stop this. Now, let's go back. That was YouTube interfering again. Thanks, YouTube. Let's go back to Senator Lindsey Graham.
Allegation that you wouldn't do, Mr. Judge Kavanaugh, the service of saying, I've got this. What's your side of the story? Turn it over to the committee so we could have something not this close to the midterms. When they say that she wasn't sure we were willing to go out there, that's a bunch of bull. I don't know what they told Ms. Ford, but we were willing to go to California. We were told she couldn't fly. All I can say is that we're 40-something days away from the election, and their goal, not Ms. Ford's goal, is to lay this past the midterm.
Well, now that's an interesting idea. Dan Butcher says, hey, just run the show long and get all your clips in. You know what? Hey, Graham, keep talking. I'll save the best for last.
So they can win the Senate and never allow Trump to fill the seat. I believe that now more than ever. I don't know who paid for a polygraph, but somebody did. And here's what I'm more convinced of. The friends on the other side set it up to be just the way it is.
Senator.
I feel ambushed as the majority. We're going to hear from Mr. Kavanaugh, Judge Kavanaugh, and I've been a judge, a prosecutor, and a defense attorney. And here's what I'll tell you. When it comes to where it happened, I still don't know. I don't know when it happened. She said she's 100% certain it did happen. I bet you Judge Kavanaugh will say I'm 100% sure I didn't do it. The people named say they don't know what Ms. Ford's talking about. She can't tell us how she got home and how she got there. And that's the facts I'm left with. A nice lady who has come forward to tell a hard story that's uncorroborated, and this is enough. God help anybody else that gets nominated. Based on what I heard today, you could not get a search warrant or an arrest warrant.
Thank you.
Because you don't know the location, you don't know the time, and you don't have any corroboration. As to Ms. Mitchell, that's what I hoped she would do. I heard a bunch of speeches from a bunch of politicians who have politicized this from day one, who've been lying in wait for a political purpose, not Ms. Ford, but certainly them, making a bunch of speeches, and Ms. Mitchell methodically went through the facts of what happened that day, leading up to that day, and how we find ourselves here.
Finally, we're hearing Republicans stand up for themselves and fall back on the facts and not the emotions of it. This is something we've wanted for quite some time, and we're finally starting to get it. Not every Republican, by far. Honesty and clarity, those are two things I value. Lindsey Graham, you're getting more points in my eyes the way that you're handling yourself on behalf of the GOP.
So from my point of view, I'm pleased with what I saw.
Senator, given what you laid out about your own background as a prosecutor, as a defense attorney, as a judge, did you sitting up there find Dr. Ford to be credible?
I didn't find her allegations to be corroborated against Mr. Kavanaugh. I don't doubt something happened to her, but she is saying it's Brett Kavanaugh, but she can't tell me the house, she can't tell me the city, she can't tell me the month of the year. He's saying I didn't do it. So here's what you do. When you have a emotional accusation and an emotional denial, use the rule of law. The presumption of innocence attaches to the person accused. You have to give them notice in times of time and location. You ask, is there anybody to verify this? And when you give names, all of them go the other way. Having said that, what I think about Ms. Ford, very competent, accomplished lady. Something happened, I don't know what, but you're asking me to say it was Brett Kavanaugh, and I don't know when it happened, where it happened. He said it didn't happen. But I would say this. I thought it was a good suggestion for her to go talk to somebody to work through this. That's actually
How is that not all an argument for a more fulsome investigation?
If you really believed we needed an investigation of this, why didn't you tell us in August?
Thank you, thank you. Always meet facts with facts, comma, you stupid damn reporter.
So this is, now listen. The FBI is going to tell us what? What house are they going to go to? What city are they going to go to? Who are they going to talk to, because they can't tell us the month, barely the year. So this is all delay.
Could Mr. Judge tell you that? Could Mr. Judge tell you that?
So here's where they're going, Mr. Judge. He says, I didn't do it. I don't know what she's talking about. They want to bring him in, trash him out, and call 25 people. Well, they say that he's an abuser, and guess what? We'll be past the midterm. I'm not going to reward people for playing a political game. I think with her life, she is just as much a victim as this as I think Brett Kavanaugh, because somebody betrayed her trust. And we know who she gave the letter to. And the people that betrayed her trust, they owe her an apology.
Do you still want
Bingo. That's it exactly. Thank you, Lindsay. So let's go back. There was some information given, and this is during, let's see, what's the next cut that I have? Here's the prosecutor that was brought in from, I believe, Arizona or New Mexico. And she's talking to, this may or may not have been a mistake, but she's speaking to Professor Christine Blasey Ford. And she's saying that, yeah, there's a problem because what you're saying has already not been not just corroborated, but refuted. There's a massive difference between a lack of corroboration and an actual active refutation of a series of facts.
We'll proceed, Ms. Mitchell.
Dr. Ford, we're almost done.
This is the prosecutor that they brought in. I've got another cut of her with regard to a polygraph situation that's also very interesting.
Just a couple cleanup questions. First of all, which of your two lawyers did Senator Feinstein's office recommend?
The Katz.
I'm sorry?
The Katz firm.
Okay. And when you did leave that night, did Leland Kaiser, now Kaiser, ever follow up with you and say, hey, what happened to you?
I've had communications with her recently.
Mm-hmm. I'm talking about like the next day.
Oh, no. She didn't know about the event. She was downstairs during the event, and I did not share it with her.
Okay. Are you aware that the three people at the party besides yourself and Brett Kavanaugh have given statements under penalty of felony to the committee?
Yes.
And are you aware of what those statements say?
Yes.
Are you aware that they say that they have no memory or knowledge of such a party?
Yes.
Do you have any particular motives to ascribe to Leland?
I guess we could take those one at a time. Leland has significant health challenges, and I'm happy that she's focusing on herself and getting the health treatment that she needs, and she let me know that she needed her lawyer to take care of this for her, and she texted me right afterward with an apology and good wishes and etc. So I'm glad that she's taking care of herself. I don't expect that PJ and Leland would remember this evening. It was a very unremarkable party. It was not one of their more notorious parties because nothing remarkable happened to them that evening. They were downstairs. And Mr. Judge is a different story. I would expect that he would remember that this happened.
Understood. Senator Harris just questioned you from the Maricopa County Protocol on Sexual Assault. That's the paper she was holding up. Are you aware that, and you know, I've been really impressed today because you've talked about norepinephrine and cortisol and what we call in the profession basically the neurobiological effects of trauma. Have you also educated yourself on the best way to get to memory and truth in terms of interviewing victims of trauma?
For me, interviewing victims of trauma?
No, the best way to do it, the best practices for interviewing victims of trauma.
No.
Okay. Would you believe me?
Wait, stop right there. She's a clinical psychologist. Does she see only adults, or does she see children? This is really where, for me, she kind of began to stink up the room. I'm going to fast forward now to the other incident, or the other arena where they're talking about the polygraph, and I find this very revelatory. She seems like a little bob afloat on a very big ocean, and I think that's quite purposeful. I'll explain why in just a bit.
Relationship between you and Dr. Ford?
Hang on just one second. I didn't start that at the start. Here we go.
And we've heard this morning several times that you did take a polygraph, and that was on August the 7th. Is that right?
I believe so. It was the day I was flying from BWI to Manchester, New Hampshire.
Oh, wait. She doesn't like to fly, but she's already in an airplane. This is what I wanted to point out to you.
Sure.
Okay. Why did you decide to take a polygraph?
I didn't see any reason not to do it.
Really? But she was the impetus because of her? She insisted, or did the attorneys insist? This goes to the very question that I had yesterday, which was, if you're innocent and you don't want to be acknowledged, you want to remain anonymous, why do you do two things? Why do you, 1, lawyer up, 2, get a polygraph? Why do you do those things?
Were you advised to do that?
Again, you're seeming to call for communications between counsel and client. I don't think you mean to do that. If you do, she shouldn't have to answer that.
Would counsel...
But you see, this isn't a lawful hearing.
Could you...
This isn't a court. This isn't a court.
Let her answer the extent to which she doesn't violate the relationship between you and Dr. Ford?
Say what you understood.
Based on the advice of the counsel, I was happy to undergo the polygraph test, although I found it extremely stressful.
Stop right there. Do you know anything about the polygrapher? Do you know anything about the situation? Let me give you this. The polygrapher asked, I hope you're sitting down, 2 questions.
It's longer than I anticipated. I told my whole life story, I felt like, but I endured it. It was fine.
I understand they can be that way. Have you ever taken any other polygraphs in your life?
Never.
Okay. You went to see a gentleman by the name of Jeremiah Hannafin to serve as the polygrapher. Did anyone advise you on that choice?
Yes, I believe his name was Jerry.
Jerry Hannafin.
Yeah.
Okay. Did anyone advise you?
Okay, because being an alleged highly educated adult, do you find her mannerisms and her speech patterns really questionable?
On that choice?
I don't understand that. Yeah.
As a psychological professional, would you want to talk to her?
Yeah, I didn't choose him myself. He was the person that came to do the polygraph test.
Okay. He actually conducted the polygraph not in his office in Virginia, but actually at the...
Listen to this. This is again why I wanted you to hear what she says.
Hotel next to Baltimore Washington Airport. Is that right?
Correct.
Why was that location chosen for the polygraph?
I had left my grandmother's funeral at Fort Lincoln Cemetery that day.
She hates to fly, but of course she'll fly.
And was on tight schedule to get a plane to Manchester, New Hampshire, so he was willing to come to me.
So she's not going home, she's leaving from there to Manchester, flying again.
Which was appreciated.
So he administered a polygraph on the day that you attended your grandmother's funeral?
Okay, stop right there. That's the point I want to make. Do you think that having just attended her grandmother's funeral, that she wouldn't be just a little emotional, and that using these emotions passed a polygraph? I can pass a polygraph. I can pass a CVSA. I'm sure she doesn't know all crap about a polygraph. Do you see some suspicions in this?
Correct. Okay. Or it might have been the next day. I spent the night in the hotel, so I don't remember the exact day.
You can't remember something that occurred in August of this year with regard to a polygraph, and you've never taken one before. Yet somehow, after having grabbed a grenade, pulled the pin, thrown it into the Kavanaugh room, and then watched the grenade explode, you expect him to be able to go back to, allegedly, 1982, an unknown time, an unknown place, in an unknown area, at an unknown house, and a whole host of unknowns, and recognize, oh yeah, that's right, I was there. You can't remember that, but yet you distinctly remember that he was the guy, despite the fact that active corroboration, there is no such thing. Refutation of that claim, yeah, refuted by all the witnesses. No, I don't find her credible. Not at all.
Have you ever had discussions with anyone besides your attorneys on how to take a polygraph?
Never.
And I don't just mean countermeasures, but I mean just any sort of tips or anything like that.
No, I was scared of the test itself, but was comfortable that I could tell the information and the test would reveal whatever it was going to reveal. I didn't expect it to be as long as it was going to be, so it was a little bit stressful.
Have you ever given tips or advice to somebody who was looking to take a polygraph test?
Never.
Okay.
No, she doesn't have the mental fecundity to be able to do that. I can guarantee you that right now. So we heard from Lindsey Graham in that press conference outside the hallway, in the hallway outside the Senate chambers. Then there was the Lindsey Graham that during the Judge Kavanaugh portion later that afternoon had a bit of a tete-a-tete between Dick Durbin, himself, and the rest of the senators. Folks, this is what I want you to hear.
Senator Durbin. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Kavanaugh, earlier today, Dr. Christine Ford sat in that same chair.
By the way, this is not the highly edited version. This is the full version, and there's a reason I want you to hear this. No, I'm not doing the top of the hour break. I'm 5 minutes past that, and we are officially into BZ overtime.
And under oath, she said clearly and unequivocally that she was the victim of sexual assault at your hands. She answered our questions directly.
By the way, this is Dick Durbin.
And she didn't flinch at the prospect of submitting herself to an FBI investigation of these charges. We know, and I'm sure she's been advised by our attorneys, that a person lying to the FBI can face criminal prosecution. You have clearly and unequivocally denied that you assaulted Dr. Ford. With that statement, you must believe that there is no credible evidence or any credible witness that could prove otherwise. You started off with an impassioned statement at the beginning, and I can imagine, try to imagine what you have been through or your family's been through, and I'm sure I wouldn't get close to it.
Okay.
But it was an impassioned...
No, you wouldn't.
I'm sure I wouldn't. It's an impassioned statement. And in the course of it, you said, I welcome any kind of investigation. I quote you. I welcome any kind of investigation.
You see where he's going already? This is why I tell you that all the Democrats in the Senate, in that Judiciary Committee, all got together and they said, individually and collectively, we will ask this guy this one question. We will press him and press him and press him, and when he doesn't say that he needs to shoot himself in the head, we'll know we've got him.
I've got a suggestion for you. Right now, turn to your left in the front row, to Don McGahn, counsel to President Donald Trump. Ask him to suspend this hearing and nomination process until the FBI completes its investigation of the charges made by Dr. Ford and others, and goes to bring the witnesses forward and provides that information to this hearing. I'm sure that the chairman at that point will understand that that is a reasonable request to finally put to rest these charges if they are false, or to prove them if they are not. You spent 2 years in the White House office that approved judicial nominees. You turned to the FBI over and over and over again for their work. Let's bring them in here and now. Turn to Don McGahn and tell him it's time to get this done. An FBI investigation is the only way to answer some of these questions.
So stop the clock. This committee is running this hearing. Not the White House, not Don McGahn, not even you as a nominee. We are here today because Dr. Ford asked for an opportunity here. I know you did too as well. In fact, maybe even before she did. We're here because people wanted to be heard from charges that they all thought were unfair or
Thank you for stepping up. Now Grassley is acting like the district attorney.
Activities like sexual assault was unfair. So I want to assure Senator Durbin, regardless of what you say to Senator Don McGahn, we're not suspending this hearing. Proceed to answer the question, or whatever, or if the gentleman...
I'll just say this. If you, Judge Kavanaugh, turn to Don McGahn and to this committee and say, for the sake of my reputation, my family name, and to get to the bottom of the truth of this, I am not going to be an obstacle to an FBI investigation. I would hope that all the members of the committee would join me in saying we're going to abide by your wishes and we will have that investigation.
I welcome whatever the committee wants to do because I'm telling the truth.
I want to know what you want to do.
I'm telling the truth.
I want to know what you want to do, Judge.
I'm innocent. I'm innocent of this charge.
Then you're prepared for an FBI investigation?
They don't reach conclusions. You reach the conclusion.
No,
Senator.
but they do investigate questions.
I'm innocent.
And you can't have it both ways, Judge. You can't say here...
No, Dick Derby, you can't have it both ways, and he's not going to go there. If all of the Democrats haven't understood by this point that he's not going to go there, you really are more daft than anyone could possibly feature.
At the beginning,
I wanted a hearing
moment.
Look,
I welcome any kind of investigation.
This thing was sprung on me. This thing was sprung at the last minute after being held by staff. You know,
Judge,
and I called for a hearing immediately.
If there is no truth to her charges, the FBI investigation will show that. Are you afraid that they might not?
No.
Come on, say what?
The FBI does not reach. You know that's a phony question because the FBI doesn't reach conclusions. They just provide the 302s.
It is a phony question.
302s, so I can explain to people who don't know what that is. They just go and do what you're doing, ask questions, and then type up a report. They don't reach the bottom line.
This morning, I asked Dr. Ford. I asked her about this incident where she ran into Mark Judge at a Safeway, and she said, "Sure, I remember it. 6 or 8 weeks after this occurrence." Well, someone at the Washington Post went in and took a look at Mr. Judge's book and has been able to, the run that he wrote about his addiction and his alcoholism. And they have narrowed it down what they think was a period of time.
It was a fictional book, by the way. It wasn't nonfiction.
6 or 8 weeks after the event, and he would have been working at the Safeway at that point. So the point I'm getting to is we at least can connect some dots here and get some information. Why would you resist that kind of investigation? Why would you resist that kind of investigation?
Mark Judge has already by this time insisted time and again that he was not there. He was not there.
I welcome...
Prove a negative is what Dick Durbin is insisting.
I wanted the hearing last week.
I'm asking about the FBI investigation.
The committee figures out how to ask the questions. I'll do whatever. I've been on the phone multiple times with committee counsel. I'll talk to...
Judge Kavanaugh, will you support an FBI investigation right now?
I will do whatever the committee wants to...
Personally, do you think that's the best thing for us to do?
It's not for him to say. He's not in charge of your committee. You guys are, not him.
You want to answer?
Look, Senator, I've said I wanted a hearing, and I've said I was welcome anything. I'm innocent. This thing was held when it could have been presented in the ordinary way. It could have been held and handled confidentially at first, which was what Dr. Ford's wishes were, as I understand it, and wouldn't have caused this, like, destroyed my family like this effort has.
I think an FBI investigation will help all of us on both sides of the issue.
Okay, then push it, Dick Durbin. It's not up to him to push it. It's up to you to push it.
Senator Graham asked for the floor. But before he does, it seems to me that if you want to know something, you got the witness right here to ask him. And secondly, if you want an FBI report, you can ask for it yourself. I've asked for FBI reports in the past, in the 38 years I've been in the Senate. Senator Graham.
Are you aware that...
Here we go. Sit down. Buckle up.
At 9:23, on the night of July the 9th, the day you were nominated to the Supreme Court by President Trump, Senator Schumer said, 23 minutes after your nomination, I will oppose Judge Kavanaugh's nomination with everything I have. I have a bipartisan, and I hope a bipartisan majority will do the same. The stakes are simply too high for anything less. Well, if you weren't aware of it, you are now. Did you meet with Senator Dianne Feinstein on August 20th?
I did meet with Senator Feinstein.
Did you know that her staff had already recommended a lawyer to Dr. Ford?
I did not know that.
Did you know that her and her staff had this allegations for over 20 days?
I did not know that at the time.
If you wanted an FBI investigation, you could have come to us. What you want to do is destroy this guy's life, hold this seat open, and hope you win in 2020. You've said that, not me. You've got nothing to apologize for. When you see Sotomayor and Kagan, tell them that Lindsay said hello, because I voted for them. I would never do to them what you've done to this guy. This is the most unethical sham since I've been in politics. And if you really wanted to know the truth, you sure as hell wouldn't have done what you've done to this guy. Are you a gang rapist?
No.
I cannot imagine what you and your family have gone through. Boy, y'all want power. God, I hope you never get it. I hope the American people can see through this sham.
Wow.
That you knew about it and you held it. You had no intention of protecting Dr. Ford. None. She's as much of a victim as you are. God, I hate to say it because these have been my friends. But let me tell you, when it comes to this, you're looking for a fair process. You came to the wrong town at the wrong time, my friend. Do you consider this a job interview?
The advice and consent role is like a job interview.
You consider that you've been through a job interview?
I've been through a process of advice and consent under the Constitution. Which
would you say you've been through hell?
I've been through hell and then some.
This is not a job interview.
Yeah.
This is hell.
This
is going to destroy
the ability of good people to come forward because of this crap.
This is powerful.
Your high school yearbook. You have interacted with professional women all your life, not one accusation. You're supposed to be Bill Cosby when you're a junior and senior in high school. And all of a sudden you got over it. It's been my understanding that if you drug women and rape them for 2 years in high school, you probably don't stop. Here's my understanding. If you lived a good life, people would recognize it, like the American Bar Association has the gold standard. His integrity is absolutely unquestioned. He is the very circumspect in his personal conduct, harbors no biases or prejudices. He's entirely ethical, is a really decent person. He is warm, friendly, unassuming. He's the nicest person. The ABA. And one thing I can tell you should be proud of. Ashley, you should be proud of this. That you raised a daughter who had the good character to pray for Dr. Ford. To my Republican colleagues, if you vote no, you're legitimizing the most despicable thing I have seen in my time in politics. You want this seat? I hope you never get it. I hope you're on the Supreme Court. That's exactly where you should be. And I hope that the American people will see through this charade. And I wish you well. And I intend to vote for you, and I hope everybody who's fair-minded will.
Senator Whitehouse.
That was one of the most powerful cuts I've heard in quite some time. Quite some time. I've got about 2 more left, and I'm going to continue to play them. This one is interesting because it's a former federal prosecutor who has been watching this in review and on Fox Business is talking about it to Neil Cavuto.
How is this all sorting out? Are Republicans in a position where they might just say, well, maybe this wasn't such a good idea? We obviously wait to see where the prosecutor is taking this and ultimately how the judge himself responds to all of this. To former federal prosecutor Sidney Powell. Sidney, what do you think?
Neil, this is quite the spectacle. I think we expected that. I do think the Republican senators were well advised to have the prosecutor ask the questions because they were going to be made out to be the bad guys completely if they had done this themselves. And as I expected, the Democratic senators are making wonderful speeches to extol her virtues and courage in coming forward. One of the things that really concerns me, though, is how broad a definition we are using here of the term sexual assault. Most prosecutors and laws define that as being rape. She was far from being raped. She hasn't even alleged that any body part was exposed.
In California law, by the way, there has to be flesh-to-flesh touching of such any manner to constitute any kind of a real sexual assault, as it leads towards rape. 261 PC in the California Penal Code.
She said he tried to take her clothes off, supposedly, but nothing came off, apparently. It was all a fumbled attempt to make out with a girl at a party, it sounds like. And there are just all kinds of problems with it, aside from the fact there's absolutely no corroboration. It's a recovered memory, which are suspect and difficult to begin with.
Thank you.
But even if she had reported all of these facts at the time it happened, now 36 years ago, I see nothing that a prosecutor would have found to prosecute. If we start policing 17-year-old boys and 15-year-old girls at parties who try to make out with each other, we're going to have a big problem of over-criminalization.
Yes. Very important. Now we get this. And we were already discussing this in part in chat. Let's throw this out there. Let's say, for example, that Judge Kavanaugh is not confirmed. Who's next? I'm convinced that it's going to be a very specific individual, And I think President Trump was wavering between her and Judge Kavanaugh. And that's Judge Amy Coney Barrett, who Feinstein already lit into because Judge Barrett is religious. Well, who is Judge Barrett? Let's listen to Kennedy on Fox Business News.
Multiple Democratic senators have called on Brett Kavanaugh to withdraw.
Oh, by the way, and one of my favorite dudes, Greg Gutfeld.
But if Dianne Feinstein and company get their way, could they soon get a major case of buyer's remorse? With me now, co-host of The Five and author of the Gutfeld monologues. It is also the host of the Greg Gutfeld Show. Greg Gutfeld.
How are you?
Welcome back to the show, Grim.
Thank you. A pleasure to be here with you, Kennedy.
So it's really funny, this resistance, these protests, the anger, the outrage, the accusations, it could lead progressives to a really sad place for them.
Well, the thing is, they obviously they've been doing this with Trump. You know, let's impeach Trump, and then you get Mike Pence, who makes Trump look like Che Guevara. And that's going to happen here. She's I think she reads The Handmaid's Tale to her kids at night. I don't know. I'm kidding. I don't know anything about her except that she's
7 kids.
She's very religious, and the left hates religious people. She's pro-life, and they hate pro-life people. So they're going to end up with somebody who makes Kavanaugh look like a left-winger, and that they don't think ahead. But I think they will be galvanized.
That's it. There is no foresight here, because as they push against Trump, it won't be Hillary in the wings, just like it won't be Merrick Garland. This could be a far more conservative scenario than anyone bet on. And if you've got a woman who's already been vetted, she's already been through the process, she was one of the president's top 3 finalists. So she's been through the background check.
And by the way, do you think there's any sexual harassment of any kind whatsoever in her background, any sexual, you name it, that they can drag her? Let's see Democrats treat her just the way they've treated Clarence Thomas and Judge Bork, because now they've got a female. And just as the GOP said, well, we better be very careful how it is that we question Professor Ford. Well, hey, maybe the Democrats are going to pull out all the stops and try to put all the shotgun rounds into Judge Barrett. Who knows?
I read the bio. You know what scares me? Amy Coney Barrett, 3 names.
Yeah.
We know what that means. There could be like some stuff in their bag. You know, all criminals, they always have 3 names.
They do.
But you know who's not on the list?
John Wayne Gacy?
Yes, exactly. But she's obviously eminently qualified, smart lady, blah, blah, blah. But a lot of people aren't talking about my choice, which is Judge Jeanine.
Yes.
I mean, I mentioned it today.
Oh, I forgot this was in here. OMG. I got to pull some laughter out of here somewhere, because this has been altogether too serious. Judge Jeanine Pirro?
On the 5. And imagine if Trump said, you know what? That's it. Judge Jeanine.
Yeah, I like her.
I like her. Could you imagine her in the hearings?
Yeah, that would be great.
No one would get away with anything.
No.
She would get up and
Kamala
beat
Harris?
them.
Yeah.
She would just grab guys by the collar and throw them out. She scares me when she's on the 5. If you ever watch me on the 5, I'm just very quiet and polite when she's around.
And that is polite territory. That's not even hostile territory.
Exactly.
Well, I think it could be. So it's interesting because I thought the next time around would be the dirty, filthy, scummy, contentious time with the loud protests and the pulling out all stops at the very end of the process. I'm kind of surprised to see it happening here. I understand the balance of the court really rests with this nomination.
You know what? It's interesting, though. I get the idea that Merrick Garland, that was a political move on the part of the Republicans, but Merrick Garland's life isn't being ruined. He just kind of he might even get another chance at this. Who knows? But the thing is, you can't compare. I mean, they're basically saying everything is permitted now. The politics of personal destruction doesn't matter what you did to Merrick. I think that they were going to do this probably anyway, and they're using that as justification.
Yes.
The timing is strange to me. I mean, the fact that, they delay. It's going to happen Thursday, and then all of a sudden this dropped on Sunday. It almost seemed, and I hate to be skeptical and cynical, that this was orchestrated.
Well, I think today's Rod Rosenstein Dog and Pony Show, that was clearly orchestrated. I mean, that was a lazy dog whistle that every journalist, it was blown and followed because they assumed that he was going to be fired, and people are now so addicted. It is like we're watching an ongoing episode of The Bachelor, just in polish.
I am totally on, what's Rosenstein? Stein, thank you, Stein. I think that as a human being who is sarcastic 83 to 84% of the time, when you say I'm only joking, Kennedy, you have to take me at my word for it.
Well, if you're going to take the president at his word when he says
exactly,
he's only joking,
there's the hypocrisy.
Can't be super serious.
This is driving me crazy. And there's people that are saying, "Oh, New York Times, anonymous, we can't, terrible op-ed," but then they go, "Oh, this anonymous piece, I believe it." No, you can't. You got to be consistent. Yeah. And the fact is,
if you don't like Woodward's anonymous sources,
you can't.
When it benefits you, you can't be high-fiving.
Yeah, and we can't. I hate the word weaponizing, but we can't weaponize sarcasm.
No, stop using sarcasm as a weapon.
Yes.
Pat Benatar sang it.
Yes, she did. What a voice on her.
Lovely.
Yes,
A trained opera singer. Greg Gutfeld.
Thank you.
The legend.
Well, maybe here.
That's all that matters.
Just in this studio.
That was Greg Gutfeld. Now there are some other things that have occurred that you may not know about. My friend Jeff Dunitz wrote this at lidblog.com. And I find this absolutely disgusting. What he wrote was, his headline is, "Someone on Capitol Hill just doxed Senators Graham, Lee, and Hatch." And perhaps you're wondering what that is. What is doxing? So doxing is an internet-based practice of broadcasting and disseminating private or identifiable info, especially personal information about somebody or an organization that is both illegal and disgusting. That's doxing. So Jeff Dunitz writes, "I thought Chuck Schumer's Democrats sunk as low as they could, but thanks to a year and a half of hatred coming out of the mouth of the senator who doesn't know how to wear glasses, 3 months of trying to destroy Judge Kavanaugh, they sunk even lower. Someone using the House of Representatives Internet Network posted personal details about Senators Orrin Hatch, Lindsey Graham, and Mike Lee on Wikipedia, listing their home addresses and phone numbers. If you listen to the hearings, and I played a number of them, those three senators were the ones who scolded their Democrat colleagues during their 5 minutes of questioning. So this criminal act was, without a doubt, revenge for telling them the truth. So the changes on Wikipedia to include their personal information, they were first reported by a Twitter bot called Congress Edits. And that bot little thing just happens to track Wikipedia changes made from internet addresses on Capitol Hill. The automatic Twitter reporter included screen grabs of the personal details. So this information is already out there. So if you think it was bad, well, yeah, it got worse. Now, tell me, knowing what you know about leftists, knowing what you know about history, knowing what you know about the walk-away movement, knowing what you know about what's been done to Sarah Huckabee Sanders and Kirstjen Nielsen and Ted Cruz recently, what do you think the possible motivation would be to give out the addresses and personal information of these senators? I think I can figure it out.
Monsieur has been
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I got to thank you for listening to the Bloviating Zeppelin's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct right here on the SHR Media Network. If you want to contact me, you can find me on Twitter at BZEP, at BZEP. And if you want to find that little video of Sheila Jackson Lee handing a stuffed envelope to the attorney of Professor Ford, go to at BZEP, and you'll find in my timeline that video is there. In two places, as a matter of fact. Also, you can find me on bloviatingzeppelin.net, which is my website. Promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Corporation and the Skunk Works, and also by the Boeing Company. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going, and also the for Pratt & Whitney engines. Producing thrust you can trust. Don't forget, rather. If it ain't Boeing, I ain't going. Thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I will be consorting in less than an hour. By the way, I have photographic evidence. My plane just got a paint job. Thanks to Shannon and Mike Wright. Thank you very much. You folks have a great weekend. See you on Tuesday with Brandon Straka. God bless. Take care. Be safe.
Everybody quiet down now and get some sleep.
Good night, everybody.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben.
Good night, everyone. Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children.
Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob. Go to sleep.
Good night, and good luck.